Yeah.
All right, everybody, want to call this meeting to order? Good evening, everyone. Good to see you all. Glad to see everybody could made it. We have a couple new people. I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself to the committee. And you'll have to bear with me this evening. I'm in the middle of getting some inner ear work done by my doctor, so I'm a little hard of hearing tonight, so you will forgive me, please. And I'm going to start with the gentleman and come over to the gentleman here.
What does the introduction entail? Name only, or why I'm here, or how much do you want? 1 second or 2 seconds?
Your name, who you with?
My name's Dan Wood. I'm from the other side of the pond, as this gentleman pointed out, from England. I work at USF, University of South Florida, by day. I've been in St. Pete for 3 years. The way I ended up here today was through a kind of cold, off-the-cuff conversation with Kimberly Rogers on the board. And we were exchanging, resumes and passions. I worked at a homelessness and recovery organization in Los Angeles. I was on the leadership team at a small nonprofit there. We housed 500 people straight from the street in 48 hours a year. We ran hundreds of self-help support groups for every life issue you could think of. I myself am 6 years sober from alcohol, which is how I got there. And that seems like a thing of the past now, but it took me a long time to get on this stretch that I'm on now. I was just saying to Kathleen, I have a huge passion for supporting people who are unhoused. I stop and speak to everyone on the street who I pass. I've suffered close shaves myself, so I'm eternally grateful for the luxuries that I've been afforded and just want to try and give a little bit back for that. And I also chair the Neighborhood Housing Solutions Committee under the Council of Neighborhood Associations, where we try and help residents before crisis hits, and that might be things like financial literacy, resume writing advice, how to get a bank account. It might be one of the girls on the panel is on the committee as a therapist, so it might be affordable therapy. And Demetrius, he's a hiring expert, so he can help with job skills. Just a passionate group of individuals. So I heard about this by Kimberly. Had lived experience in the title. I love that word. I'm kind of proud of it. I'm proud to have it. I used to be embarrassed to be in recovery, and now I kind of shout it from the rooftops. I think you're a superhero if you can do that. I think better than winning the lottery, you're the strongest person in the world if you can just deal with these addictions that are within inside our demons within many of us. So I'm just happy to be here and looking forward to meeting some of you great people and hearing what this is all about. Sorry, that was really long. I apologize. You didn't give me a time limit. Thank you.
I just wanted to say, Kimberly Rogers is the HLA board chair. So Homeless Leadership Alliance, she's the board chair, just to fill that in.
Sorry about it.
Good job.
Introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Christy Townsend, and I'm part of Jennifer's. And I've experienced homelessness myself, and I hear a lot of great things about CFC, about the COC, and I came to check it out and see what I could do to help.
Here, speak directly into the mic to the sound speak.
Could I just ask everybody to give Dan a round of applause for his sobriety?
Okay, anytime you're talking with the microphone, you have to focus into it to make sure it picks up on the recording properly. But when we start meetings now, any new faces, we'll get the mic and get a chance to introduce themselves to make the rest of the committee familiar with who we have in our presence.
Thanks, Gary. So most of you know me. I'm Kathleen Beckman, the chair of the COC board, and happy to be here again and excited about working on this workshop that we've talked about for a little bit today. And welcome to our new people. Happy to see you there. Here. Thanks, Gary.
One of our new members is no longer with us. It's a gentleman who worked on the food assistance I passed out to everybody. The good news is he moved to Orlando with a job opportunity in housing. Oh, more power to them. Okay, and with no further ado, I'm going to hand the mic over.
It wants to move Gary. In his ears. Gary.
Here, this one's turned on, ready to go.
Yeah, that was Philip Kirkland. He got a housing and job opportunity in Orlando, so he won't be joining us unless it doesn't work out.
Wish him luck.
Yes, we do. Good for him. Has everyone had a chance to go over the last month's minutes? Any corrections, questions, anything we need to take care of before it goes into the permanent record?
Maybe before we get into the minutes. I can say one thing before we get into something. That food assistance thing that I passed out, that's what I promised everybody. And what that identifies food pantries and hot meals. So that way we can pass information on to people.
And please
Yeah,
be
yeah.
aware that Elevated is on 78th Ave.
I didn't notice that, but I will make sure that gets correct. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to proofread it. I just got these before the meeting, so my apologies. But I think everybody here pretty well knows where Elevated is. But yeah, okay. And Kat, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Any questions, comments, corrections? Take your time, I'm not in a hurry.
Oregon. I was just gonna ask, I noticed on, the St. Vincent de Paul Communities and Kitchen and Resource Center, they also provide showers. Are you listing some of the other services, or this is just food assistance like it says at the top? Right, right, okay. Hey, Oreo.
That was meant to be just food
Just
assistance, but if you wanna make notes,
Yeah.
we can update that.
Hi, just so everybody knows, it just came to, my mind here, because I do have personal experience with this. Yeah, it's about 8:30 in the morning, St. Vincent de Paul on Park Street, that's when they do that. And, you wanna be there before 8 o'clock, because that line gets pretty long. 8:30.
Cat Jennifer has a comment.
May I have your attention, please? Would Glenn Malzlowski please come to the checkout counter? Glenn Malzlowski, the checkout counter. Thank you.
So I'm also aware, and I know this is food assistance, but I'm also aware that they do open the gate at 7 AM for showers and laundry. So I'm not sure if the food, we do discuss resources at the end of the meeting, so if we could hold that until we get there. Just make any notes of anything you're aware of, and we'll get this all updated and corrected. Okay, are we all good on the minutes and the attendance from last meeting? Okay, Jennifer makes a motion to approve. Do we have a second? Silas, we have a second? All those in favor to approve? All against? Anyone abstaining? Motion is approved. Okay, we touched on this a little bit at the last meeting about our membership and our charter and some changes that are taking place. We want to ensure that LEAC operates with intentionality and effectiveness as much as we possibly can. So myself and the co-chairs have opted to temporarily not take any new applications. We would like to come up with a streamlined process for application approval. We feel like it's been a little haphazard, and we'd like to come up with a process that is thorough and maybe put a cap on the number of members under 20. We just think that 20 is it's just too much, you know? So we're gonna try to work on that. Any advice, any ideas, anything that would help that process. We're always gonna have members come and go because people do get opportunities. But we'd like to try and find people that are gonna stick and can make that 12 meeting commitment. It's so much more beneficial when our people have been here for every meeting and they're up to date on what's really going on. It allows us to move on, get things done.
And I just want to add that HLA staff will be working with the officers on making these updates to the charter and membership eligibility criteria. Gonna say something else. I don't remember what it was.
Let me buy them.
But yes, if you have any suggestions, please reach out to me or Sherry or the officers. That being said, we did revise the charter and it was approved last meeting, I believe, with the revisions. So it is not going to be brought to the board until more discussions are had. So the charter that was originally made by the committee and is on our website is the current charter.
Right, but we're still making updates because it was kind of a last minute thing with the last couple of applications where we decided it just wasn't enough. There wasn't a lot of verification going on there. We've continuously had problems with people making the 12-month commitment. And, you know, we want to try and get people that really want to participate and really want to be active in this mission. So we want to do our best to try and get that information on an application, get with them, get them approved, and get a commitment.
Ready? Thank you, Kat. Okay, I'm just gonna sit here so we're more collaborative in a circle. And so we've talked the last few meetings about how to make an impact in our community and let people know about the face of homelessness and the reality and complexity of homelessness. And I had mentioned before that telling your story in a short 3-minute manner is a good way to do it because you can go to governmental meetings. You can go to a city council meeting or a county commission meeting, and you usually get 3 minutes to tell your story. And, I know that because I was an elected official in Clearwater and sat there and listened to people use their 3 minutes. I will tell you something though. Clearwater no longer allows people to get up and use 3 minutes to talk about anything that's not on the agenda. They are stifling free speech in the city of Clearwater. And that happened after I left. But while I was there, I must applaud Jennifer, who would get up pretty regularly, not every meeting, but certainly 4 or 5 times at least. And not like all in a row, but I mean, it made an impact. She talked about safe harbor. She would talk about her experiences, what the city needs, offer suggestions. And she had it written down and it was within 3 minutes and it made an impact. Now, did it move the needle in Clearwater? Not enough for me. And, you know, I would sit up there and really use a lot of statistics and facts. I use the PIT report that you all are familiar with, the point in time count report. I would use the data on ALICE, asset limited, income constrained, people who are employed and poor in our community. So when you use all those numbers, for example, one that sticks out to me is that we've had generally about 3,000 students in Pinellas County schools that are experiencing homelessness or couch surfing or doubling up or, you know, living in conditions that aren't in a single housing unit. And so I think to move the needle, you have to tell a story. And there's really research that says that people respond to a narrative, telling a story. And I used to teach high school English. I taught mostly sophomores and seniors. I taught journalism. I taught college-bound kids. And when I taught sophomores, I had a lot of freedom. I taught in Northern Illinois. Right now, there's not a lot of freedom in Florida, especially about what you can teach. But I would teach this book called The Glass Castle. I don't know if anybody's familiar with it. It's a nonfiction piece by a woman named Jeanette Walls. She was born in Welch, West Virginia, and she had 3 siblings, and they traveled throughout the United States, and her parents were unstable and very, very poor. And so she wrote that story, and I taught. My kids read that story. My suburban kids read that story. And part of reading it was I would, you know, a lot of suburban kids have no idea what it means to be poor. I never had to live on the streets. So that's a full disclaimer. But when I began to teach that in Northern Illinois, in the Chicago Tribune, the daily paper, was published this piece called Being Poor, and it's by a man named John Scalzi. And it was the most impactful piece of writing I think I ever shared with a group of students. And I wanted to share it with you today to give you an idea about how you might want to tell your story. And, you know, your story doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be a first person. This is what I experienced. It doesn't have to be only what you experienced. You can think about people that you know and what their experiences are and paint a picture however you want. And this is art. So I use the phrase paint a picture because it is, you know, writing is art. It's creating something. It's telling a story. It's painting that picture. It's trying to connect with someone and share a message. And so I thought there are all sorts of ways you can use your 3 minutes and tell a story. Jennifer may appear on a radio show with Sherry and I and talk about what it means to be homeless. We kind of are lining that up. You can do an interview with someone on your phone. There are all sorts of different ways. But the point of today's time is just to start thinking about it. It's just think about time. You know, it's not pick up a pencil and start writing. If you want to, you can, and you've got notebooks and pencils or pens, feel free. But this first meeting, because this will be like, I think at least 3 sessions, 3 monthly, 3 consecutive meetings, or maybe we want to break it up. But it's just to get you thinking about, do I want to do this? What's my comfort level? do I want to do it with a partner? Do I want to do it as a group? There's all sorts of freedom. There's no one right way. But this is what I'd like to do is to start by, this is how I started with my students. And I think it's mighty impactful because it's got all these different voices and all it is a sentence. But it might trigger something. And I hope it doesn't. I hope it's not distressing or anxiety producing. If you want to pass, usually we just read one right after the other. If you want to pass, just say pass. That's no big deal. But we'll just start by just reading each sentence. And that's how it was printed in the Chicago Tribune, was just this box column, and all it was sentences. And, there's no preaching. There's no, you've got to do this. It's just, these are real life statements. The only thing I'd say is, as I look back on it, it's a little bit more from a younger person's perspective, but I think we can all relate. So are y'all good with that? Please feel free to pass if you want to pass for any reason. So, yeah, any questions? Yeah.
I had a question, it would, not going backwards, but when it comes to the Clearwater thing, is that city advisor, consultant or whatever that was helping them shove people out of town, is that guy still on the payroll?
Shove people out of town?
Yeah, it was a few years ago, like 5-6 years ago or something. Around St. Vincent de Paul, there was talk about that there was like the city had hired a consultant or something that was trying to help them to move people out of town to make it so, yeah. He's
Yeah.
still on the payroll.
No, he's not.
Oh, I
But-
was gonna say, that's a problem if he is.
Yeah, it was he was it was before I was involved with the city. And it was maybe a doctor, his last name started with an M, PhD like doctor. And he came in and did a study, I understand, and advised that all of the feeding, any kind of food distribution needed to stop in the city. That that was attracting people, and that was his advice, is you need to get people to services, not feed them. I don't happen to agree with that. I think you can do both, but that was but he was just hired as a consultant for advice.
I remember what I heard was that they were working with the city to try to figure out a way to.
Reduce homelessness, yeah.
Well, to try to figure out a way to more or less like Governor Newsom get.
Yes.
So they were like hidden in the woods,
Right.
like out of the way.
Right, that's not Governor Newsom. It's happening in Washington DC today. Absolutely, yep. Getting them far away. Okay, so if we're ready to start, I'll start and want to go this way. So this is clockwise. You good? Remember, you can say pass if you'd like. So it's called being poor. Being poor is knowing exactly how much everything costs.
Being poor is getting angry at your kids for asking for all the crap they see on TV.
Being poor is having to keep buying $800 cars because they're what you can afford, and then having the cars break down on you because there's not an $800 car in America that's worth it.
Being poor, hoping the toothache goes away.
Being poor is almost on a fully contract sometimes.
Being poor is knowing your kid goes to friends' houses but never has friends over to yours. Being poor is going to the restroom before you get in the school lunch line, so your friends will be ahead of you and you won't hear you say, "I get free lunch," when you get to the cashier.
Being poor is living next to the freeway.
Being poor is coming back to the car with your children in the back seat, touching that box of Raisin Bran you just bought and trying to think of a way to make the kids understand that that box has to last.
Being poor is wondering if your well-off sibling is lying when he says he doesn't mind when you ask for help.
Being poor is hoping the toothache goes away. Very expensive product.
Okay, so on page 2, right, we're on being poor is off-brand toys.
Being poor is a heater in only one room of the house.
Being poor is knowing you can't leave $5 on the coffee table when your friends are around.
Being poor is hoping your kids don't have a growth spurt.
Being poor is stealing meat from the store, frying it up before your mom gets home, and then telling her she doesn't have to make dinner tonight because you're not hungry anyway.
Being poor is Goodwill underwear.
Being poor is not enough space for everyone who lives with you.
Okay, I'll take this one. Being poor is Goodwill underwear.
We already did that.
It's feeling the blue souls. Gary, it's two down, just two down.
He's not keeping up because he can't hear.
Oh, yeah.
Right here on the blue.
Being poor is filling the boot soles tear off your supermarket shoes when you run around the playground.
I ended up here, so here to 7.
Being poor is not enough space for everyone who lives with you.
Being poor is your kid's school being the one with 15-year-old textbooks and no air conditioning.
Next piece of life. Let's see what this is.
Being poor is thinking $8 an hour is a really good deal.
Yeah. Being poor is a sidewalk with lots of brown glass on it.
We're at the top of page 3, Norm.
Yeah, I'll pick it back up there. Yeah, I'll pick it back up.
There's no page number.
Being poor is relying on people who don't give a damn about you.
Being poor is an overnight shift under fluorescent lights.
Being poor is finding the letter your mom wrote to your dad, begging him for the child support.
Being poor is a bathtub you have to empty into the toilet.
Being poor is stopping the car to take a lamp from a stranger's trash.
Being poor is making lunch for your kids when a cockroach skitters over the bread and you're looking over to see if your kid's on.
Being poor is believing a GED actually makes a bit of difference.
Being poor is people angry at you just for walking around in the mall.
Being poor is not taking the job because you can't find someone you trust to watch your kids.
Being poor is the police busting into the apartment right next to you.
Being poor is not taking No, not talking to that girl because she'll probably just laugh at your clothes.
Being poor is hoping you'll be invited for dinner.
Being poor is a sidewalk with lots of brown glass on it.
Now I'm lost. Being poor is people thinking they know something about you by the way you talk.
Being poor is needing that 35-cent rate.
Being poor is your kid's teacher assuming you don't have any books in your home.
Being poor is $6 short on the utility bill and no way to close the gap.
Being poor is crying when you drop the mac and cheese on the floor.
Being poor is knowing you work as hard as anyone else anywhere.
Being poor is people surprised to discover you're not actually stupid.
Being poor. People surprised to discover you're not actually lazy.
Being poor is a 6-hour wait in an emergency room with a sick child asleep on your lap.
Being poor is never buying anything someone else hasn't bought first.
Being poor is picking the 10-cent Raymond instead of the 12-cent Raymond because that's 2 extra packages for every dollar.
Being poor is having to live with choices you didn't know you made when you were 14 years old.
Being poor is getting tired of people wanting you to be grateful.
Being poor is knowing you're being judged.
Being poor is a box of crayons and a $1 coloring book from a community center Santa.
Being poor is checking the coin return slot of every soda machine you go by.
Being poor is deciding that it's all right to base a relationship on shelter.
Being poor is knowing you really shouldn't spend that buck on a lotto ticket.
Being poor is hoping the register lady will spot you the dime.
Being poor is feeling helpless when your child makes the same mistakes you did and won't listen when you beg them against doing so.
Being poor is cop that doesn't go away. Being poor is also being raised Welch and never thinking about any of this because that's how you were raised. Being poor is also scraping all of the silver out of a pot of potatoes till you see all the silver in it, but things that.
I don't know.
Being poor is
Following the thing, I'm part of that.
Being poor is feel okay. Just think if you have a bag.
We can't hear you. Being poor is making sure you don't spill on the couch just in case you have to give it back before the lease is up.
Being poor is a $200 paycheck advance from a company that takes $250 when the paycheck comes in.
Being poor is 4 years of night classes for the associate of art degree.
Being poor is a lumpy futon bed.
Being poor is knowing where the shelter is.
Being poor is people who have never been poor, wondering why you choose to be so.
Being poor is knowing how hard it is to stop being poor.
Being poor is seeing how few options you have.
Being poor is running in place.
And being poor is people wondering why you didn't leave.
Thank you.
Being poor is also saving every single thing, including the cereal, the bags from the inside of a cereal box, because you never know when you're gonna be able to use it again.
Good point, good point. Well, thank you. Thank you for reading that with us together. Any comments or questions about it? You think it was impactful? Do you think it was pretty honest and true?
I think there were things probably every one of us in this room has identified with at one time or another.
I think so too. I think it's pretty powerful. I included on this handout, so this is yours, but I included on it, as I went and looked it up online again, John Scalzi wrote this Being Poor 10 Years On. I put edited because it was a pretty long piece where he told us about how he wrote it, how it's visited the most on his website still. People still reprint it. It's been printed in textbooks because it's impactful. It kind of makes me feel a little good because I just read it in the Tribune, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to share this with my kids. It just happened to fall in place that way, or my students. But it is, I think it's incredibly powerful. And hold on, silence, so you can read that at your leisure. And I put the website up there. There were at least 240 comments about this from people who had read it and, telling John Scalzi what he thought and how it made an impact or what. I only read a few of the comments, I didn't read all 240, but they're there. And so I wanted to share that with you because telling your story can be as simple as just listing things. And I put down here, so you can see how this whole group could compose a piece like this that's specific to Pinellas County. And then it would be a collective piece of art. You could do it with a partner. You could do it on your own. You could do it in this style or not. You can think about, these were some prompts. I'm just going to look at my time and then I'll get back to you, Silas. I won't forget. But here's some things. That being poor it can be like right now, that's what somebody's experiencing, or it can be looking back on your childhood and remembering all those things that stuck with you, or stories that you heard. So you can also write before I was homeless. Maybe you want to tell the story of, you might see me now today, but before I found myself in this situation, this is how I experienced life. Or, what you don't see about me. This is what you see, but you don't see what's inside and what however you want to talk about what people don't see about you. I thought a good prompt might be, this is what trying looks like. Like when I think somebody read people thinking I have to be grateful all their time, or that I choose to be this way. I think Norm read that one. It's like, look, this is what trying looks like. And trying looks like I've got to get 4 bus transfers and I've got to get my medication up here at this part of the county and then go back down to this part of the county and fill out paperwork and blah, blah, blah. Whatever it is, maybe you could describe what trying looks like, because I don't think people have a real understanding of that. And then the simple question of, I think sometimes people, and again, I think of Washington, D.C. right now because it's on the news today about the Trump administration going out and our federal Department of Justice and the National Guard picking up people who don't have a home, are unhoused. And it's like, well, what do they want? What do they want? They've got a shelter, they've got this, or whatever people say who have a house. Maybe we explain what it is. What do you need in order to be successful? And then the other prompt, again, these are just idea starters. You don't have to go with them at all, but it's like, tell me what do people who have experienced homelessness, what do they see when they look out at the world or at people hustling and bustling to work or to school or their peers or whatever? What are you seeing from your eyes? And you can describe that. You know, I would consider this being poor to be like a narrative poem. It doesn't rhyme. It doesn't have to rhyme. You don't have to have stanzas. But you know, you don't feel like you have any constraints with any kind of writing. The last thing I put in here, was, and I think it's on the back page, is if we think, and again, this is just the think about, it can be the think about and brainstorming part of our workshop. Just start to think about things. And then the next time we get together, you can talk about ideas. Maybe you got started, maybe you didn't, maybe you're stuck, whatever. But if we're thinking about sharing this with people, whether or not you use your actual voice and you read it, or you get it published in the Tampa Bay Times or whatever we do with them. If you're going to read it at a meeting, this is kind of a 3-minute length. So I was thinking kind of about Silas when I did this, because I know you've got a lot of detail when you talk, and that's great. But that little ding, ding, ding in a government meeting happens and they turn off your microphone. Yeah. So I just wanted to give you an idea of how many words it's, you know, and I don't know if I have the word count there, but it's about that many. That's about a 3-minute read. The other thing I wanted to share with you, and I don't know how many of y'all are familiar with artificial intelligence and chat GPT, any of that stuff? Okay, well, what it is, and I was an English teacher. I can't imagine being an English teacher now, but if you're in a library and you go online, there's free artificial intelligence called Chat GPT. There are also others. I don't know them all, but you can put in, you know, you can do a rough draft of something. You can say, you know, I was 35 when I became homeless in Pittsburgh and blah, 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 and write a story using emotion, blah, blah, blah. And it'll come up with something. And that's what I did back here. And so I put in the prompt, living poor in Pinellas County, Florida, a stark reality. That's all I did. And I think I don't think I put in emotional, but this is what it spit out. Okay. And this is okay. All right. You can read it, see if you think it relates to Pinellas County. But I would say it's not art and it's not your voice. It's not a voice. It is a computer voice. And you know, if you're real anxious about writing and you want to use something like Chat GPT, you can get a start like that, but then you better insert your personality and your voice and your reality somewhere in there, because this doesn't have the impact that reading, you know, somebody's experiences. And again, they don't have to be just yours. They can be your friends or your siblings, or it doesn't have to be, nobody's going to come and say, oh my gosh, you didn't really experience this. You know, it's just about what you know in your heart. So that's enough talking from me. Everybody's got a notebook. If you'd like, you can take that notebook. That's yours. There are pens. You can use it to jot down ideas throughout the next month before we meet again, if the executive committee wants to continue this. But any questions or thoughts? Yeah. All right, I gotta get my British. Daniel? Yeah, okay.
Hey guys, I just wanted to, I was in a seminar earlier on where the reviewers were talking, and they review pieces of paper written by Chat GPT. They just discard it because there's no heart in it. But what you can do is make it work with you rather than just ask it to do it for you. So if you come up with some loose words, I've got 20 words written down here. If I just write this in kind of a scrappy sentence and put it in, then it will churn something out. I can read it and go, that doesn't sound like me. And you can tell it what to edit, change. It will change based on your input. So take the first draft, as Kathleen said, that doesn't sound like me. I don't use those words. And you can edit it and it will churn it back out until you get it. So it's a great starting point. but keeping your heart is where at these commissioner meetings and that's where it's going to come from. The real life experiences that we have are what people are going to listen to. And if you all go to ChatGPT and put the same prompt in, you're all going to get the same output, and then people aren't going to take you seriously committed. But it's a great tool if you use it properly. I'm a big fan of it. It's grown on me over the last few months, and it's free. As Kathleen said, you can put it on any computer. ChatGPT is the biggest one of all of them, and the fastest.
I just used it today to make some graphs for this solar stuff, so it's good for that. But when you're trying to touch somebody in their heart with their heart, you know, and move that needle, like I said, the numbers don't matter, and they haven't moved the needle enough. And you're the only one who knows your story. So, what do you think, Kat? What do you think? We can do this?
We can do this.
We can do this. I mean, I'm not one for sharing a whole lot. But I mean, for people that do want to do that, I think it's a good way to structure it so it's doable for anybody, which I think is really gonna help the project. Because, you know, left to our own devices, a lot of us would be intimidated, believe it or not. You know, it doesn't bother me to speak. You know me, I'm comfortable speaking.
You're very
Sharing
good speaker.
is a whole different issue.
Okay.
Yeah.
But if if people made a collaborative poem, you could say this is a written piece by the group, then nobody's single name
Right,
can be attached to
right.
it. And you could even say, if you want to think about being safer, we could take something like being poor and we could model the Pinellas version of it and talk
Yes.
about what we're dealing with here in Pinellas County.
Yes.
And just make it that way.
I think the more specific we can be, just keep saying Pinellas Park over and over, because that is something I really want to drill into them. You know, that it is a serious issue here in Pinellas Park, and you know, we're just not getting any headway anywhere.
Well, I would agree with that, but like I live in Clearwater, it's really bad there. And I mean, I'm talking really bad where I live. There are homeless people literally going in trailers at night, and the police have to come out, and they don't wanna, they have kids. Look, one lady was at the pool last week with some guy, don't know who they were, in the middle of the night. We make rounds at night, me and him were part of the security team. You know how terrible that is to see a woman crying, you don't know who she is, she's homeless, and the police have to take them somewhere other than where they're at. So my heart goes out to any homeless person ever, because you gotta put yourself in that other person, you gotta take those blinders off you, no matter how mad you get, and look at, man, I was homeless before, but you don't know how that person feels. And you've got to have some empathy for that other person. If you don't, you might as well not be in this meeting at all, because we've got to all, every one of us come together on that point. Because like I used to give people, are you hungry? I'm gonna go get you something to eat. If a pastor at a church told me I could not give a food box to a person because they didn't have a social security number, I went back there and made them bag lunch and they left with food. So I risk myself because you're supposed to be like that. It's like the water at the well. I want to go to that because I was reading that. And that's in the Bible, by the way, which we're not talking about that, but it's exactly, it's a parallel, because that lady did not turn no one away for a drink of water, and it's so valuable to have water. We saw a man 2 days ago, right on our road, just passed out. We don't know if he was dead or alive. And you just like this, oh my God, it is so hot. Everybody's heat stroke. My neighbor's got COVID. So we've been dropping off water, juices, stuff like that for her, not going near her, but bringing her stuff. People have been bringing her things so she can get well. And you just gotta have empathy for people in general. We got a lot of Hispanics in our park now, and somebody came in a tow truck and took somebody's car at 3 o'clock this morning. I witnessed it. And I'm like, oh my God, I felt so bad. So that's what I'm trying to say. And that's probably this man call. Sorry.
So, what's your first name again?
Charmaine.
Charmaine, to me, I hear a title, The Water at the Well, and maybe you quote from the Bible and then you tie it in today.
Yeah.
I hear, do we walk by? What do I say? Is this person breathing? Do I walk by or not? And the first line could be, they came at 3 a.m. and took his pickup truck. I mean, it grabs your attention, right? It's true. And all it has to be is 5 sentences, whatever you want to say about that. What an impact. And so, you spend this time over this next month thinking about, what would make an impact? It does not have to be overwhelming. It doesn't have to be as long as this.
Right.
Well, I think also is that it goes back to the recurring theme of, you don't know what it's like to be homeless until it's you or somebody that you know.
But there's a title, Until It's You, and then, tell us about tell people. Did it come through?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
There you go.
while I have the mic too, not to derail anything, but,
Oh, yeah, no.
me and Gary went to the, health department, about a week or so ago and got 3 cases of this. We now have a contact, so I can get this all the time to start passing it out to anybody who wants it.
Thank you.
What is it?
Narcan? Or anybody else comments on Jennifer?
I think another thing that we need to focus on is destigmatizing the homeless or the unhoused. Especially when it comes to mental health and drug and substance abuse, because, I'm a blunt one, so, there's a lot of people and I don't mind sharing. And there are a lot of people out there that don't want to share, and I understand that. But we can't just oh, they're homeless, they're a drug addict and this and that. No, there's a reason why they're a drug addict. And it stems all the way back to their childhood, up to where they're at now. So we need to make sure that that's very prevalent in the unhoused, community and people, that need to know that.
And I think that's kind of like that prompt. I think I wish you knew, or what you need to know, and that can help destigmatize it. So, whatever speaks to you might want to do that kind of a thing. You might, you all have different things, topics, tangents, angles, paths that you might want to talk about or not talk about. You don't have to. If 5 people in here did something, or a few of you all did that collectively, I think it's just a start. And as the advocacy committee, or Sherry and I get up and talk about the pit report, let's say Sherry and I go to the Clearwater City Council, which I'm trying to work on, and give a presentation about the pit report. And then wouldn't it be nice if then somebody from lived experience gets up and shares a brief narrative? We're doing all the numbers, all the facts and data, and it's here are a couple people, and you can just say, I'm part of the COC, and I'm part of this committee, and I wanted to share this work that we've done, share it. I mean, talk about a nice finish to facts and stats. Yeah, so anyway, we talked about narratives moving the needle. This is the first start. Think about it, jot things down if you want. We've got lots of extra notebooks. I won't make you guys love them. I can bring them next time. You guys can take extra notebooks if you need them, but yeah. Any further questions before we move on to the agenda? Here, silence. Yeah, good. Oh, okay, good. Good. And we'll let you know, I'll let you know when we're gonna do presentations and if y'all wanna, if there's an allowance for speaking.
I'll tell you guys that I come from California and I did, street revival, so my idea of how to deal with homeless is different, but I like working with Garrett. Cause he brings supplies that they need all the time. And that breaks the ice, because what I do is different than what Gary does, but we can work together. And, this greater Tampa Bay area is gonna experience something. And it's called a real revival. I'm involved with the church but in reality, just have some bottles of water, because everybody's
Yes.
cooking. And when they have mental health issues and drug issues, if you don't know how to deal with it, be cautious. But the thing that I hear from everybody in this room, or different people, but when we, have personal stability, we love ourselves, we take care of ourselves, we respect ourselves, we gotta help them people that are laid out. And that's just human dignity, give them some dignity. I got a homeless friend and Gary's been doing really wonderful. That person, Daryl, has a house and he got help from, believe it or not, Pinellas Park, a police officer helped him get off the street, because I talked to him and said, I don't have resources. And I said, Mr. Johnson, would you help us? And he went and got a trailer. And this guy Daryl's homeless, 69. He don't take drugs, but he has a lot of mental health issues. I've been helping him for approximately 3 years. And I really care for this man, and I reached out to Gary. Sometimes he can help, sometimes he can't, but I can't get him off the street. And when you get to 69 and you're not healthy, you're heading to death. That's it, so I just said, okay, Lord, I'm just gonna help him die with dignity. But I reached out to the police and, the Nels Park Police helped him. Now he's off the street.
There's a story.
And it's phenomenal, because when there's some kind of sickness, that's right, because it keeps you from quitting.
Yes, it does.
Because depression is bad, because I've been fortunate, but I come from a union family, but on my worst night, worst day in history, I'll be depressed and angry, but I go to the VA to get mental health treatment.
And a title could be, it keeps you from quitting, right? Tell us the
Yes.
things that people need to keep going on,
Because we can't quit on the people, because a lot of them, they don't have the stability to come to a meeting. And Kat's experienced a lot of hardship. They don't have her stability to grasp on reality and say, that's it, shit.
Well, and it'll take multiple times, right? Multiple reaches.
But the
touches.
number one thing is when you put out love to people, however it manifests itself,
Yes.
it comes back to
Yeah.
you. But it gets easier as you age, because Gary's always got lights and a couple of things.
Yeah,
And it really helps the people.
it is. Gary's a good resource. Yeah.
And he does,
Yeah.
he's working his
Yeah.
butt off. I just don't want him to get run over
No.
more than that.
And there's a title, right? Gary's a good resource. And just, again, all sorts of good ideas. So I'm not gonna take any more time. You got your agenda?
I do.
So I hope that this was helpful for just a start, so we can think about things. If you work on things, great. And we'll continue on if the executive committee wants to.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Okay, guys, do you remember we talked about the emergency phone tree?
Yeah.
Well, we've got an application on page 8. On page 9 is a procedure. The purpose of the phone tree is for those people that we are aware of who are living on the street. I don't think we have any extra forms right now. But if you need to provide information to the phone tree, if you could get their name, a contact number, an email, anything, the purpose of this is so that we can check on them and make sure they have information in an emergency situation, so that we're able to contact them, make sure they're aware of which shelters are open, how to get there at no cost. It also allows us to be able to check on them after the emergency. To make sure they've gone to a shelter, to make sure they've made their way back to where they need to be. And just kind of deal with things as they come up so that we can learn what really needs to be done during a hurricane, during other emergencies where people are just stuck out. You know, the last two hurricanes, I rode out in my car. I didn't have to, but the last time I went to the hurricane shelter up at Largo High, they kicked us out before the buses started running. So I was stuck for a whole day in Largo and a night, not being able to get back here, which is where my safe place was. I'd like to try and help prevent that for others if we could, because the Largo Police Department, they were well aware the shelter had closed. They were well aware the buses were not running yet, and they were making sure we didn't lay down anywhere. They were trespassing. As far as they were concerned, they didn't care if I walked back to Pinellas Park.
We'll follow up on that.
Yeah.
We're planning for hurricanes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we didn't expect to be put out of the high school before the buses started running. And I didn't see the logic in it. Because if the buses aren't running, you're not using the school, you know? So I don't know if it was miscoordination, with PSTA. There were people driving. There really was no reason for the buses not to be running. So it put a lot of people out, and it puts us, we're like feral cats. We know where we can survive, and we know how to survive there, you know? And when you get stuck last minute, and you got police, I mean, the police were everywhere. They were looking for us. So, yeah, it was not a fun experience. So if we can set up a system where we're definitely able to get people to the shelter and off the street, but we need to be able to follow up and make sure they got back to where they came from. I've also known people, I mean, it was bad enough for me to ride it out in my car, but I knew people that didn't have a car and didn't go to a shelter. And I've been one of those, and it's dangerous, extremely dangerous. You know, so maybe we can get something going to where we're keeping an eye on people, we're helping people, we're checking on people without being too invasive. You know?
Their choice.
Yes, yes.
And I would second also that to reinforce why this is important, because in that situation, if you would have had the contact information, not a car, I would have came and got you and took you where you need to go.
Exactly, exactly. And so I think, I mean, I also wasn't aware of, the Uber thing, you know, in an emergency situation like that. So, you know, maybe we could get some, options,
A list of
a list of resources for us to use, to help get them back to where they belong. I don't know, because I don't know anybody who used it. And I wasn't aware of it until someone actually said something to me about it being available.
And most of the people that it was the fire department and people at ambulances.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah,
And remember, we talked about, we have the resource flyer. We have a post-storm resource flyer as well,
okay,
but it's very difficult because this is time sensitive, right?
Right,
So when we at HLA got information that there were free Uber rides, because we have to wait for Uber to send the code,
I got you.
it was already printed. It was like 11th hour, you know, it was too late. So we try our best to get you that information.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe there's some type of way we can communicate with you guys to better enhance.
Well, and also too, if, you know, if PSTA would have given us a heads up, that would have been really helpful, you know? I mean, if everyone else is driving, how come the bus isn't running? I mean, I just didn't get that.
We do need to look into that more, but,
Yeah.
with Pinellas County especially, but also Silas, you're absolutely right. There was a hiccup with Uber. The code, the way that the information came out from Uber, several people, I remember having a scramble, being like, hell, don't use that code. It's this code over here. It was the way that it was, that Uber had put that out. So hopefully there were some lessons learned from last time.
Okay,
That's
you
why
know,
it's really important to people who have resources.
Yeah.
Like I said, in that situation, I would have come and got her and took her where she needed to go, because I had the resource, I had a hard way to do that.
and that's another thing we could consider is some of us do have vehicles, you know, and if it's, you know, I mean, if it's just up to Clearwater and it's an emergency, you know, so maybe we could network that way, and maybe Uber's been able to work the kinks out of their, you know, but my big thing was PSTA, because that, it just made no sense. You hauled all these people up to the shelter. Certainly, you know, they have to go back.
Take a guess between us or just one that had you ready to do that, and that's why I did it happen.
I don't know. It's the only time PSTA's ever let me down.
Yes,
Does anybody have any questions about the phone tree, the phone log,
I
and
think it's a great idea.
any ideas, any input? Other than maybe making a small list of resources for us to use to get things done?
Is it open to anyone, not just people in the league, right? It's.
No, it's open to anyone who is literally living on the street.
I can remind everyone, please, when you're speaking, please make sure you have a microphone. We are recording the audio. And I would like these comments and stuff on record, please.
Sorry, Gary. So I had asked that, the phone tree is open to anyone who is homeless and wants to be part of a phone tree for, texting or calling about emergency resources and plans.
We would prefer to call,
Okay.
you know.
Yeah.
Because doing a follow-up, it's kind of important to actually talk to that person to make sure that they're okay and they're able to do what they need to do. Yeah.
Got it. That makes sense.
And I will make sure to have more printed copies of this
Okay.
for next meeting, but please, if you're not going to use the copies in your agenda packets, you can give them back to me, and I'll make sure to give them to Kat and officers so they can distribute them. And also, it is available online, but I know that is sometimes iffy, so I'll make sure to have the printed one.
Thank you. This. Okay. Okay, well.
You have a question?
Yeah, stay here. It's about phone tree.
Oh, this one.
Does the county resources, are they working with us with this phone tree? Because they have all kinds of procedures for disasters. And are they gonna help us? Has there been any communication?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Well, they have already procedures in the county for all the emergencies. Are we like?
The county's not responsible for getting, other than making sure people know about PSTA. They're not responsible. We're trying to get people that live on the street make sure they know that they can get to a storm shelter. And make sure they know that they can get back after a storm. We want to be able to check on them and make sure they're okay and they got back. If they didn't get back, we're trying to get them back.
Can we give some county help to develop?
Such as,
What we're doing? Make sure, with maybe transportation or.
I doubt it. I doubt it. I doubt the county's gonna, I mean, I think we can, I think we can do this. I think there's enough of us here, those of us with vehicles who choose to participate, we should be able to get this done. You know, PSTA, the last time I went to Largo High and the buses didn't run when we were put out, that might have been a fluke. It may not happen again. We don't know. But just in case it does, you know, I don't think it's something that we need to get the county involved in.
I don't think they'd take that on.
I don't think they would either, honestly.
Their resources are just unlimited compared to that.
I think during a bad storm, which is an emergency, first of all, the PSTA should suspend all charges because we're under it.
They do.
They do? Okay. The first important thing is to get to one of those, what they list, you know, on the list, those storm shelters. That's the best thing. If you have to stay in a car, stay away from sewers and flow to sewers or below a sewer because you can get inundated. I've seen sewers overflow. The whole runoff from streets runs into another place, and the torrential rains cause a lake on the street. Do not park on the ordinary streets. Park on a level place where there is no water, you know, flowing in. Okay, that's.
Do you have a question, Norm?
Yeah.
Do you have a question?
Well, that was my advice.
Okay, thank you.
If I may, people, the topic that we were talking about was we have to know people are in distress first. We have to be able to check on them, find out where they're at. If they need help, we can worry about the transportation secondary. We need to know that you're in distress. Just a couple of years ago, when the committee was in its infant form, we had two past committee members, which I'll leave the names unspoken. We're trying to hold up in the public storage unit over here. Victoria and I had to intervene to get them a ride to go to storage. The whole idea is to be able to have a checklist, people to check on, make sure they're okay. Do they have a safe place to go? Do they make it to the shelter? We can, once we know that they're in distress, then we can work on the other.
Okay. Thank you for that, Gary. Sherry, I believe you have a topic for us.
Charlie has heard.
Well, I'm gonna say.
So I've been asked to go over some of the federal and local things that are going on. If you watch the news, then you're aware of many of the things Kathleen mentioned earlier, what's happening today in Washington DC, trying to get people off the streets in a very violent way, using but I want to say that we now have, and I don't know if many of you have seen, there's an executive order that was recently put out that was from the administration that criminalizes homelessness. In reading the news, it's very interesting to me to read people, you know, and there's politics involved, of course, right? You want to get on a good side so that you can be funded, all that. But to read these news reports where people are like, well, yeah, it'd be great to have more mental health treatment, and sure, it'd be great to have more but the actual executive order, if you have a chance to review that, it is It doesn't have that tone in it whatsoever. It's talking about how that is the core problem of criminal activity in our streets is the people who are unhoused. And that everyone's, has addiction and like a very, very broad stroke there. And so, and then talking about civil commitments and voluntary commitments to beds that don't exist and hospitals that aren't built and more expensive, frankly, solutions that are not solutions and they're very short term. And so, so just keep an eye on that. But here's the positive. There's that is happening. There seems to be some other stories going on though too. We've seen some things that we were not expecting. So for one, the state in Tallahassee, the House and the Senate and the governor all signed the budget, which is the one job that our state legislature has, like on June 30th, the very last day that they could do it. And we were able to receive funds to maintain services through the COC programs that maintain services in the community throughout the COC. There were no cuts there. That was good. That was something that the advocacy committee, many of you are involved in that committee as well. And so that was great news. There was a lot of concern from some that would not happen in time and we may have a gap occur, and it didn't. I can say though that looking at the federal side and just kind of, preparing for the worst, assuming some of the worst even, that you have the Congress, the House and the Senate. The House they passed their appropriations through committee. Appropriations is basically Congress decides how much money is going to go into something, right? And what programs are going to get funded. And then the administration, the executive, the president and his cabinet are supposed to go ahead and carry all of that out. We were expecting, so the president came up with his budget. And then the House subcommittee, which is primarily, in the same side as president, they ended up passing something very different. They maintained the COC program. They added some funds actually to permanent supportive housing, and were against reducing the staff to the level that they rejected some of the proposals that the administration had made. Then it went to the Senate and it was even better. And so, we don't know, we don't have the crystal ball. Nobody can read tea leaves. I don't know. It's maybe one of you could read tea leaves and I'd love to, hook up some time and check that out. But, I could use it. But there seems to be kind of we're just at a time of uncertainty and there's nothing, it is the time to start telling the story. And Kathleen was right. The numbers alone, it's just like saying getting an education. The higher you get up, and if you have a college degree, then you can do it. You can make it. And if we actually look at the actual statistics, some people, it's not just about education. It has a lot more to do than that. It's where you come from. It's who you are. It's what you look like. It's this color. It's all kinds of things that play a role in that. And so that doesn't necessarily guarantee anything. But the stories touch the heart and people connect, and connections and relationships do matter. And so I think this is good timing. We have next month in September, it's already, we just finished doing a bunch of advocacy work for the state, but it ran late, much later than usual. So we didn't even catch a breath before now. The Pinellas County legislative delegation, they're starting their rounds and they're going to be in Pinellas September 24th, going to be there, going to be speaking on behalf of our talking points, sharing what as a COC and also statewide coalition of COCs, what we've all voted on and agreed to moving forward, which is basically to maintain and increase the funding and the services and the types of services, and not just the emergency right now. That some people, because of we know it's very unaffordable to live in Pinellas or most places, anywhere. I moved a block north of Tarpon Springs just to get out of the county so I could afford it, and then that has skyrocketed, right? So Yeah, and so many things that go against people who are trying to get a home. So if you've been evicted before, you have a history, there are just so many areas, that could be attended to if people understood it. And so if they just know the story, that would help a lot. A great time to be an advocate. Yeah.
Thank you, Sharon.
No, that's why I said that I'm one of those people that need to do that, because most of the time when I tell them my whole story, it takes a while, but at the end, the usual question is, who the hell did you piss off? I have so much stuff in my.
Okay, everyone, on that food assistance sheet I handed out was primarily done by Bill. Forgive me for the discrepancies in it. I didn't have time to proofread it. I was more interested in trying to keep my promise that everybody will get a copy. I will proofread it and update it. Basically, these are just a list of food pantries and hot meals that we can advocate, tell somebody, hey, there's a hot meal over at this location on these days of the week. It gives you the time, the date, and a lot of people, believe it or not, don't know about these. We have quite a few churches that are stepping up offering hot meals. And the First United Methodist, who I've been up here on 90th Avenue and 49th Street, I've been working very close with, they're going to start expanding their shower program. And they already have a shower program. You can go there Wednesday morning, get a shower. You can get laundry done. There's a hot meal. As far as the food pantry, tell the Joan, who's the woman in charge, tell her, look, I'm homeless. I can't cook. She will tailor your entire food bag to that situation. Ready to go sandwiches or salad or whatever. They will tailor it, customize it to you. As I said, they have a hot meal. There's coffee there. While we're waiting for the meal to be served, you sit in the AC, have a cup of coffee. It's got very, very good promising with it. But the whole idea was to give you information, because the topic was to get the information out of here and on paper.
Thank you for doing that.
There it is. Okay. And it's so that way that you, being an advocate, can tell somebody, oh yeah, I know where this is. They have a hot meal on these days, this time of day. It allows you to do that. And you have the information readily available. You don't have to remember it. You have it on paper. Okay?
And this month's topic is showers, grooming, and laundry. And if anybody has any resources we might not know about, let me know.
Yeah. I have a correction to make, from our resource guide here, and so it has to do with, the laundry services in Clearwater. The correction is this: the laundry service is at the Happy Bubbles laundromat on the one block from the corner of Missouri Avenue and Court Street. It is on the first and third Wednesdays, not on a Thursday, from 4 to 7 p.m. On the first Wednesday, Holy Trinity Church does it. On the third Wednesday, the Church of the Ascension puts on. It is free. They provide everything. Soap, whatever, dryer sheets, everything is provided. You just have to bring your laundry. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Norman, do me a favor, write that down. Write that down or text it to me and I'll add it to that list, okay?
And one more
Made the note.
One more thing, and then I'm gonna give it to you, Sherman, okay? Not Trinity, Northwest Church, where Feeding Tampa Bay, Feeding Pinellas is located. They reached out to me. They are looking for volunteers that are willing to work a few hours a week. They're trying to get their laundry shower service back up and running, but they just have a lack of volunteers. I did post it, on the HLA social media, yesterday, and I'm gonna send it out to our membership as well. So if you all know of anybody, they're over in Leland, and Gary knows them very well.
Yeah. Also, they were talking about showers. There's some other things, if anybody else has anything to write down to maybe add to the list of places to eat up in Clearwater where you were talking about, Norm. There is a church, United Methodist Church. Every single day they feed hot meals up there. The police actually bring some of the people from the one downtown. Yeah, right down there. Yeah, and me and him have actually been there before just to see how it is, meet the people, and there's lots of clothes they bring in for people to get clothing. Clothing is never an issue there. They have plenty of clothing and they wash it. And they pass out socks, stuff like that before. And it's like a cafeteria style. But it was really nice people in there. I know some of the volunteers in there, and yeah, they need more volunteers pretty much everywhere now. But I'm gonna make a list of what I know.
Thank you. That's a very cool resource guide you got there, Norm. It just prompted me as something we're doing on the Housing Solution Committee. We received, or we obtained by Sergeant Hancock, the wonderful, this is 65-page, the HLA guide with all the resources in. And when we looked at that as a committee, which is just me and a bunch of friends, trying to make this information accessible to people on the streets or before a crisis hits, we looked at it and went, that's overwhelming, right? 60 pages of information is a lot to go through. So how can we condense that into a matrix that lets everyone know in a snapshot? Because I looked at it, I had a friend who checked into CASA and we didn't know that she needed a job. You saw what you just said about the 8 o'clock opening for the SVDPC. If you're going to Salvation Army and you're from the streets, you can't be, if you're intoxicated, they're not going to let you in. So there's all these little quirks that people are trying to rifle through at the hour of need, and that, we don't have a day to find all this out. So what me and my committee are trying to do is they're phoning every single organization in that guide. We split it up and split it out into 5 of us. So we're making about 80 phone calls, and we're updating it and putting it into a matrix where you kind of like your guide, Norm, where we can go, here it is, and you can go, okay, this is open on that day. And oh, this one you can't, the person can't be intoxicated, or they only take females, but they need a job, just to try and save that 2-hour frame of looking for. So there are all these resources around, and some of them are great, some of them are outdated, and it's going to have showers and food and all the good stuff. So I'd love to see what you guys have got and compile all the wonderful work and resources you've got. We're going to pull it into one big thing. It's going to take about 6 months because we're just a volunteer committee, and I would love to get your guys' input on it. I would love to share it with you. I can let you know the progress and any input you can go, hey, that's right or wrong. And then once it's done, it's going to be a free resource for all. I just got to get someone to sponsor and print it, but that won't be a problem. So I'd love to consult with you guys on it, because I've heard some great stuff in this room today. Very, very exciting. And thank you for letting me join you guys.
One suggestion that I could make to you, Dan, is one thing we talked about a couple of times is making this and whatever that 60 page, making it electronic, because if we have a PDF or something like, even though it's that much information, if it's something that can be sent out and emailed to people and stuff, it can be distributed like a lot faster. And if you have that thing on your phone so you can go through it, oh hey, it's a lot easier than trying to do it. That was the whole concept of us trying to get this stuff out of his head.
Yeah, this is great. We're gonna have to wrap up though, guys, and I appreciate everybody sharing resources. And I love the consolidation of everything, because I have a resource guide from JWB. I have one from 211. We have ours, so it would be great just to have one.
I'll keep this really quick. I have an announcement to make. It's kind of bittersweet.
But the end of October, I will be moving back to North Carolina. Just to be with my mom and, keep working on our relationship. And I hope to, I've been so grateful and blessed to be a part of this, committee and the work that we have done so far. And, I will take what I can, what I've learned from here and up there. Because, when I went to go visit my mom, there was homeless and it's pretty bad up there too, so. And I'll do my part up there. And maybe, oh, yeah, I'll be here for the September and the October meetings. So, yeah, for sure. But I just wanted to make that announcement, so, but yeah.
The lovely Megan. And I know last month we said goodbye to Victoria. Megan, completely unrelated. I promise you, we are not running people away. But Megan is, she and her fiance made they decided on this is what they want to do, get out of Florida, go to Vermont. And she told me, so we've been working together on that transition. She still wants to stay in touch after she's up there. I will keep on pulling her back in somehow. I'm just going to tell you right now, she's been awesome. And but I want to wish her the best. Megan had before she came to the HLA, she was a librarian. And it's tough to be a librarian in Florida.
Yeah.
And so she needs to go back to doing what what her love is, where she can practice her, her profession and all those gifts. But we have really enjoyed having you, Megan. We started a week apart. And so this is, we came up together in the last year and, gonna miss her, but it keeps changing. It's mid-September, yeah. So, gonna miss you.
That's right. You go ahead, Laura,
I'm not leaving.
Don't close yet.
Okay.
Last one, number 12.
Okay. I have a little brochure here, which is from the Largo Public Library. It's called Street Literature. And what it's about is that street lit are fast-paced, vividly descriptive novels about characters overcoming poverty and hardships through their own resourcefulness and will. Now, we're listed here about 6 titles in here and 18 authors. If anybody is interested, maybe there might be some ideas in this, which you might like to learn or know. If you can make a copy of this, yeah, I only have one copy. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. All right, now at meetings on, there's a couple of we're being invited, LEAC members to the COC Information Center and Board of Directors meeting, which is gonna be this Friday, September 5th. And that's for the Board of Directors meeting. It's gonna be 9 to noon, the Largo Emergency Operations Center. That's on Highland Ave, and then the 9th September is the Information Center. That's gonna be virtual, not in person. It's gonna be on a Tuesday. And then the last thing is, of course, the closing and adjournment. I want to thank our guests for being here. And I guess right now, no other comments. We've had a good meeting and I hope to see you all next month. So be safe and do keep an ear to the news. The hurricane that's just turned hurricane may go north, who knows where it goes, so just keep an eye out in your ear on. We don't want to activate our emergency network too soon. All right, so see you all next month.
Thank you.
Thank you.